Hello, Trojan fans. Welcome to another edition of the Peristyle Podcast on a Tuesday. I'm your host, Ryan Abraham, alongside, next to me, Chris Trevino. This is the Peristyle Podcast, the Ryan and Chris show that we normally do each week on Tuesday. We're also simulcasting this on YouTube, and we're doing it live. We just came from USC's Howard Jones Field from the USC campus to witness Tuesday morning's practice. It's mock game week, so they're getting ready for Rice. 10 days away from the start of the 2022 USC football season. So if you're watching on YouTube, thanks very much for doing that. And you can jump into the comments live and we'll be able to talk about anything, any topics that you have today. We don't have a whole lot of questions that were emailed in. If you have questions for us for the show, podcast@uscfootball.com is the email address, or you could call or text us at 424-254-9141. Send us a text, leave us a voicemail. We'll be happy to play it on the show. But like I said, when we do these simulcasts live, we can actually take the comments on YouTube and display them up on the screen and answer any questions that you have. So we enjoy doing that. So hopefully you can follow along as we're doing it. So wanted to say hello to Chris first. He's right here in the studio next to me. Chris, how you doing, man?
I'm very tired, Ryan.
You tired?
I'm very tired.
It was an early practice today.
It was a very early practice, 8 a.m. roughly. And I'm just going to power through this. I'm going to power through this podcast, this live session, and I'm going to go home and I'm going to take a nap. Full disclosure.
Okay. Full disclosure. Well, that's fine. You got to take a nap. That's cool.
I earned that nap. I earned that nap.
You know, it's weird. I was out there this morning. I was at the gym at 5:30 in the morning, and I wasn't sure. I had a class at 6 that ends at
you're
like
one of those
7.
people? You're one of the early gym people?
I'm an early gym person. Apparently, yeah, I was like, well, I'm not sure how this new schedule is going to work, right? Because we had to be, we have to practice start at 8:10. But I made it to campus by like 8 o'clock, so it wasn't too bad. I got home, showered, and everything. So we got to get used to this whole new schedule. So now, camp is over. It's mock game week, and then we're just every week after this is just going to be the regular kind of routine as they're getting ready for each game coming up each week. This is a mock game week, so they're kind of going through what a regular practice week would be, and then on Saturday, I don't know if they're going to do some sort of scrimmage. It's not open to us. I assume they're going to do some kind of scrimmage, at least a walkthrough or something in the Coliseum, and then moving forward from that, go into. They're gonna get back to the regular routine the following week, and then obviously the game for Rice will be on Saturday. But
Ryan, you know what I didn't hear?
What did you hear?
I did not hear all fall camp situational mastery.
No,
I didn't hear Big Horsey. I didn't hear the light bulb is going to come on, or the light bulb came on, or something like that. I didn't hear any of those things.
Yeah, little behind, behind inside baseball. We're like getting ready for the show. We're still like doing work from practice because practice just ended. So we were like putting up videos and stories and things. And then Chris is listening to some different interviews because we got to talk to players and coaches after practice. And I heard a voice I haven't heard for a while. And I turned to Chris like, what was that? Yeah.
It was a Clay Helton soundbite.
It was a Clay Helton soundbite.
As a soundbite I'm ripping for 2-Star Podcast, so I'm not going to tell you what it is, but I'm just going to rip it.
Little plug.
He was like, he was like I just shouted his name or something. It was that, you had that visceral reaction. You were like, what is going
on? Weird. We didn't really give much of a heads up that we're doing this live, and we already did like a live one at Instant Analysis Live earlier today, so make sure you go check that out. It's on our YouTube channel, youtube.com/InsideTroy. So we did that live. Normally we get like couple hundred people watching us live. On this, we only got like a handful so far, so I think people are kind of slowly.
What's a handful? Like 12?
Yeah, like six. There's 16 people live right now.
6D?
16.
16.
Which is great. Like, so my apologies. I didn't like put this out on Twitter or anything before we went live. So, or we're supposed to put it up on.
Works for me, Ryan.
Yeah, just less people. But it'll build up. Like by the end of the show, we'll have a whole bunch of people and stuff on. So, but we do appreciate you. And if you're listening on any of the podcasting platforms, thank you for doing that. If you can subscribe, leave us a 5-star rating. That always helps. To grow the show, tell your friends. You're at the water cooler, at work, whatever. Let them know.
Everyone's remote, Ryan.
I know. Well, in the Zoom chat, like, hey, you guys like USC, right? Or go check out the Peristyle Podcast. So it's been great. We've had the numbers have been going up. Just so much more interest in the USC football team. So we'll be happy to answer your questions and comments and all that here on the show. I want to thank our sponsor, Trader Joe's. We're planning a tailgate. I just want to let everyone know we're planning a tailgate for the Rice games. We're going to try to do some tailgates. We did a couple last year. Trader Joe's is going to be a big part of it. They're going to provide snacks and drinks and things like that. So thank you again to Trader Joe's. I got to tell you, like I always go with desserts a lot. I bought the cookie butter ice cream.
Okay,
Man,
cookie butter, great,
it's
great flavor.
Legit. And I combined it with the chocolate chip dipping cookies I like. They're like the long, like oblong cookies and stuff. Holy cow. Those are really good. So I kind of make like a little ice cream sandwich out of those things. So that was kind of fun. But thanks to Trader Joe's for that. We're going to have to get some, probably not the ice cream for the tailgate, but just stay tuned.
So we're doing a tailgate.
We're going to do a tailgate.
Do I have to go?
We love meeting the people. Chris, I feel like we've asked you to do a lot. You don't have to do anything.
Here's the thing, though, Ryan. I just had a brilliant idea.
Okay.
So hear me out.
Yes.
The bake-off.
Oh, we still have to do that. Oh, for the tailgate.
We do the bake-off for the tailgate.
Yeah, because it won't be that busy for the first week.
You make 10 or whatever. I don't know. You make a dozen red velvet cupcakes.
Okay.
I make a dozen red velvet cupcakes. But we only use ingredients from Trader Joe's.
Okay. Oh, okay.
Like all our ingredients come from Trader Joe's.
Perfect.
It's got the colors, red and white, red velvet, red and white. I got there. And then we just have like a little fish bowl and people write down what their vote is.
Okay.
For which ones. It's a blind taste test, though.
Blind taste test, yeah. So we'll have like
yours will be one
sample A and sample B.
You write down which one you like.
We could cut them into like quarters
whatever.
And like we could have a whole bunch of people vote.
But we got to do this. We got to do it.
We have to remember before.
It's going to be a busy week. It's going to be a busy week. But we have to do it.
Okay. I like it. I like what we're doing there.
Hold us to it.
Yes, please let us know, and we'd love to do that. Okay. So, Chris, let's talk some fall camp's over, right?
It's done. Forget about it. It's all done. I don't even remember it.
Practice looked a little different today. It just looked different because the portions we get to see in the beginning are always, limited. They're stretching and things like that. That's pretty much was the same. I watched a little bit of the special team stuff going on. I wanted to get some pictures of some of the specialists, and you get some cool shots to get the guys doing returns, because like Jordan Addison and Raleek Brown, guys like that are doing returns, so you can get some shots of them. And then when the offense went over there to their side of the field, some of the offensive players stayed on Brian Kennedy, and they went right into these sort of like walkthroughs with the first couple units of the defense and the scout team for the offense. You had some of those shorter quarterbacks that you never really see doing much. They're out there, running drills, basically mimicking what Rice was doing. But could see some interesting stuff over there. We can't really disclose. We're not allowed to talk about most of the stuff, I think. But it was a different look. Something we just hadn't seen. They didn't do position drills or anything. They went right into this kind of, walkthrough against the scout team.
Yeah, I mean, this is kind of like the most we've ever seen at a Lincoln Riley practice in terms of like schematically or just like team stuff in general outside of, the spring game or anything like that. We see some of those team pursuit drills in the beginning with the first team or the defense, which kind of gives us an idea. but we don't really know if that's what it really looks like once we're, kind of ushered out the door. But this is the closest we've seen to anything that's sort of like, oh, that's interesting. Eric Gentry isn't like the first team guy in those team pursuit drills, but a lot of first team work today working against that scout offense. So those were kind of the things we saw. And then I think I also noted how fluid it was between the first and second team. There were a lot of guys like switching back and forth, going between both units. It was kind of hard to tell which was the first, second team unit because they were kind of blend so well together to have guys move in and out. So, they talked about having a rotation, so we shouldn't be surprised by that. But, we did get to see a lot from that brief window of scout prep.
Yeah, it was kind of cool to see. And we were like, I took pictures and stuff, and we got a little bit of a video, but it's always, there's always opportunities because you would see the defense come out and do this drill where they kind of line up in a formation and then just basically run to one corner or the other. The whole team's like running. And I think you do a really good job. Make sure you check out his ghost notes, by the way, if you haven't checked that out yet. A really good job of kind of noting who's running with what unit. And I know there was some talk about Eric Gentry. Someone had said, I think it was like was on Twitter or something. He was like running with like the third team, and his mom chimed in and was like, nope, he's taking first team reps. And we hadn't seen that, but we got to see a little bit of that today. He was out there with the first team sometimes. So that's good to see. You look at him and you're like, okay, he needs to put on some weight, but then everything you hear about him, and we have a story up on uscfootball.com kind of describing what a lot of the people around the program have said about him. It's just, you always hear like athletic, he's making plays. He's just someone that's around the football, and, maybe he has to grow into his body a little bit, but it looks like someone that can play. And, if you didn't think he was going to be a significant part of this defense, I think you're going to be mistaken. It seems like he's going to be out there.
Absolutely. And I don't think there was a lot of doubt that he wasn't going to be out there at some point. It was just, he needs to catch up. He wasn't here in the spring, obviously. He was in the portal a lot, didn't have spring football. So for him, it was just getting acclimated to the team, getting acclimated to this new defensive scheme, just getting acclimated more to playing that inside position. He played, that kind of off the line of scrimmage linebacker last year at ASU. So he's not unfamiliar to that, even though he was an edge player out of high school. But the talent is there. We can all see it. He had an interception in that scrimmage a couple weeks ago. He's making plays, and, Brian Odom was kind of raving about him in terms of, how much he kind of plays with the chip on his shoulder and how you see him week to week or in practice to practice kind of growing. So it's not a matter of if he'll play, it's kind of when he'll play. And it seems like that when is coming up pretty quickly.
Yeah, you would think so. Just from what we've seen today and just what we've heard about him, he's just someone that's going to be I think he'll be a big contributor. And it's one of those deals where there's guys coming over from the portal that you might not hear from for a while. And there's other guys coming from the portal that are going to have like a big splash, right? There's the Caleb Williams and the Jordan Addisons of the world. On the defensive side, it's a little bit more, I think there's more nuance to it because you're not really sure who's going to end up being this big contributor. Like a guy like Romello Height, you think if he comes in and gets like 8-9 sacks for the season, like that's pretty darn good, But a guy like Eric Gentry, just there's oozing with potential, right? There's just so much potential there. What ends up happening with him, but I wasn't sure, if we were going to see him getting significant playing time, especially like you talked to Brian Odom, and he's not into rotating guys. He's into like playing his dudes. I guess he's in the top 3 of the linebackers, right? And you're going to have him and
easily
Shane Lee and Raylan Goforth, and those guys kind of out there depending on what formation they're using. So, I kind of get a little bit more optimistic, Chris, as we go forward. I think the defense, the way it's put together, it's not superstar driven like the offensive side, but man, I think some of the way that these pieces are coming together, I think it's going to work pretty well.
Yeah, I think it's clear that Gentry is moving up. He recently made a big jump in our top 30 re-rank that we did, me and Shotgun did. I believe he was in the 25 range, and now he's up to 17. So I think that sort of speaks to the importance that he's bringing to this defense and how all that praise everyone was giving him throughout fall camp and such. But still need to see it on the field. But I think we're going to see it on the field, Ryan.
Yeah, I think we will too. I just put a picture up of Alex Grinch. I got to put a picture of someone else up here if you're watching on YouTube. Korey Foreman, Chris. We got to see him out there. Now, I believe he ran with the second team when I saw him doing stuff. But just to see him in pads, not in a bucket hat, not doing some kind of drills on the side, like being as part of the team. I took some photos today. This is the photo I took this morning. Shotgun tweeted it out and it's like, people are going to be happy about this. I think people are going to be happy to hear more about Korey Foreman.
Right. And obviously Korey's number one obstacle is just getting reps, getting practice time. And that's what Lincoln Riley has really hit on, that he needs to, if he wants to be on the field on Saturdays, he needs to be on the field throughout the week in practice. And he said he made that a note of anybody. He made that answer about Damani Jackson, who's dealing with an injury, about, yeah, he's talented, but he needs to be on the field. You're not going to play for us if you're not practicing. If you're not on the field, Monday through Friday or Thursday or whatever, you're not going to play on Saturday. So that's the biggest obstacle right now for Korey, just getting him reps. They have time, obviously, kind of 2 weeks until the season. I know that's not a long time, but that's enough time to get practice, get him acclimated. He did go through spring. So I think that's just the big storyline with that portion of the defense, is just getting Korey up to speed after missing all of fall camp. And Romello is obviously a little bit banged up. So Korey, number 0, big opportunity to maybe step in, play a little bit more if height isn't fully healthy come Rice game. Maybe I would assume that, assuming he's good to go, if he clears medical, Romello's going to start. But it's Rice game. They're probably going to be beating that team big. So, pull your starters, pull Romello out, and let Korey kind of go out there and get a lot of run, get a lot of time out there. So I would expect to get him up to speed. He has the opportunity to get a lot of time in that Rice game.
I think so. I think you're right. Man, I just can't wait. 10 days away. I can't wait to just see kind of what USC has in store. I want to talk about the offensive line. We end up getting a question from Phil.
Okay.
Who's the favorite player to watch? Oh, I'm sorry. I put the wrong one up there.
Whoop.
Let's see. Oh, here we go. Sorry, Phil. I'll come back to you in a second. This was Mr. Marshall. Thank you both for keeping us updated. Any idea when we will find out who wins the left tackle job? And RJ Abadia got to speak with Josh Henson this morning, who's USC's offensive coordinator and offensive line coach. And I think he got a one-on-one with him. Sounds like everyone else, no one really got a chance to interview him. And he was asked about this specifically. Let me put a Cortland Ford picture up there for you. So Cortland Ford and Bobby Haskins are the two guys battling it out. I actually talked to Justin Dietich a little bit about it too, and he said that there's really no spots taken. There's a battle there, but he said if you have to be looking over your shoulder because someone's going to be trying to take your job. But that's really where the battle is. Henson's talked about not being overly overjoyed, I guess, with the amount of depth that they have on the offensive line. But it sounds like, you got your Justin Dietich's, your Brett Nealon's, your Andrew Voorhees, Jonah Monheim at the right tackle, and then it's going to be either Cortland Ford or Bobby Haskins at the left spot. So, Chris, any thoughts on left tackle?
Based on what Lincoln said, it sounded like this week, and I would assume probably more so over the weekend, that they were going to kind of sit down and look at it position by position and kind of really start to hammer out kind of that depth chart. So I would expect by next week, probably, going to the final week of Rice prep, season prep, I would assume we're going to see sort of that number 1 left tackle, or he's going to announce it in his scrum, like we're going to go with blah, blah, blah. But, every week you could see a change. No one's job is set just because you're the starter for week 1. By week 5, you're maybe not the starter. So, and that being said, I would probably lean towards Cortland Ford being the number 1 guy for the opener. But I think Haskins will play. I think they'll rotate them, give them some opportunities out there on Saturday. So I would probably lean towards Ford right now, and I would expect by next week we should have that solidified, at least for the first week.
Yeah, I agree with you there. And Henson talked about that today, where it's it's going to be a battle up until, or including the season. And if one guy wins a job, you might see the other, someone else take it over at some point if they don't perform well enough on the field. So I kind of like that. You're keeping your options open. One of the main guy, one of the guys that we're talking about a lot is the incoming freshman, Raleek Brown. We're curious to see how he's going to be used. I mentioned him catching some kicks and stuff earlier in practice. We get to watch that. We can watch him catch some passes through throwing lines, and then they do routes on air, but we haven't really seen any competitive periods with him. But I'll put up, for the YouTubers, I'll put up a picture of him. He's been looking good. You heard some interesting stuff about him today, I guess.
Yeah, obviously Travis Dye, veteran running back, projected to be, an all Pac-12 guy, the number one guy in the backfield right now for USC. It's just super complimentary of Raleek Brown. He said, he was asked what kind of stands out about him, and he said pretty much everything. The way he catches the ball, his speed, the way he moves, and I quote, is second to none. Those are high praise from a guy who led the Pac-12 in all-purpose yardage last year and put up a bunch of touchdowns. Has played in this conference a long time. So when Travis Dye's putting that kind of praise on a kid, you kind of listen. And he had another eye-catching quote being, this is a kid who I can see, I'm paraphrasing, but this is a guy who has the potential to win a lot of awards in the future, a lot of hardware in the future. So, and he said, he's going to make freshman mistakes, but he doesn't make a lot of mistakes, is something that he also added. But you just got to keep staying on that path, because right now he's on pace to play this season, Ryan. So I think Raleek is a guy who's impressing a lot of veterans on this team.
Yeah. He's when you mention him by name without being asked about him, that that there's someone that's making an impression on his teammates and stuff. So young guy, but just a lot of talent. He's got the moves. He's got hands. Someone that can really be a dangerous weapon in this offense. So there's a lot of potential weapons. So you're going to see how they all get used in that opener against Rice, and you might see a bunch of backups too if things go swimmingly, as you kind of assume they would. So it was weird. Though normally we talk on Tuesdays is an offensive day, Wednesdays would be a defensive day, but because Tuesday's practice in the morning and then Wednesday's practice is in the afternoon, there's going to be guys that have to leave and go to class, so they wouldn't be available. So if you're an offensive player, you might not be available on Tuesdays. You'd have to speak on Wednesday, and there could be the same thing on the defensive side. I believe there was only one defensive player, Kalen Bullock. I got to talk to him today. I'll give you a little recap in a second. But when we were waiting to get into practice, so we have to leave and then we come back. We were waiting to get in. I mean, a lot of guys left, and you heard guys. I think Kobe Pepe was like, "I gotta go." Oh no, it might have been Dijon Benton. He was like, "I gotta go. Got class," and like they were grabbing their watermelon and their shakes or whatever, and going out there, and head over to class. So it was kind of a mass exit, but exodus, and then we saw some of the guys that were left over. But Caleb Bullock was one of the guys, so he must have a conflict on Wednesday, and he spoke today. He told me he's up to 190 pounds. Let me put you. He's looked really good to me. I mean, just filled out quite a bit from last year. No question, one of the leaders on this defense. I asked him about the depth. He said, "Yeah, the depth is so much better than it was in the spring." And he had mentioned a couple of guys. I'd asked him, like, guys that stood out to him. Sayer Wright is someone, he said, and I got a photo of him too. This is him getting some one-on-one reps in the period this morning for the scout team stuff. So he's out there on the first team corner. And then Zamarian Gordon is another guy that he had mentioned. And he talked a little about Jordan Addison, really likes the wide receivers in general. He didn't want to call out anybody by name, but just said, man, it's a really good group. And they feel so much better going against that group of wide receivers. But it was cool to talk to Kalen this morning a little bit, just to, a little different. You get to, it's mostly offensive players, and he's out there. But, big smile. He's got his dreads, got his braces on and stuff. And I think he's just someone that's like this budding superstar that you're just going to see. He's just going to have a huge year for USC.
I mean, can't get an honorable mention, but yeah, sure.
Yeah, that's so weird. That's one of those ones where you leave Marquise Lee off the Bolitnikoff Award watch list and he wins it. Like that's one of those things. He's not going to be on the.
I thought you were going to watch this guy, Ryan.
I'm not a watch list guy. That's part of the reason why. Like the guy that won it wasn't even on the watch list. And the watch list is like 100 people long. Like you couldn't get. You had 100. You could pick 100 receivers. And you didn't pick the right one. Like you didn't. Not in your group. That's pretty bad. But yeah, I think they're going to regret not having him on the honorable mention. Preseason Pac-10, all Pac-10 team because I just
already
don't
calling it Pac-10.
Pac-12. Sorry, Pac-10. Soon to be Pac-10. Yeah, fun stuff. You want to give an update on some of the injuries?
Yeah. I mean, a lot of guys who are still on rehab island. You got Chris Thompson Jr., linebacker, Kyle Ford, Michael Jackson, Solomon Tuliaupupu, Britton Allen was still out there on rehab island. Bryson Shaw did come out in pads, but he was doing rehab with Benny Wiley. Xavier Alford came out in pads, but he was also still doing rehab, it seems, because he was out of his pads by the time the scout stuff started. So it seems like he's still banged up. Damani Jackson, another big name out. Joshua Jackson was out as well, the other cornerback. Those two guys were limited all in spring. But the notable update being that, Lincoln Riley did say that Damani Jackson is sort of dealing with a quote-unquote short-term injury, so they expect him back in a couple days. And it sounds like he'll be back for the opener, but they just need to get him on the field. Like I said, they're not going to play anyone who isn't practicing. So he needs to get back on the field. They hope to have him back in a couple days. The big new injury that I saw was obviously offensive lineman Jason Rodriguez, recruited as an offensive tackle out of high school, but has been playing more interior. He's been playing that kind of second team left guard spot, vacated by Maximus Gibbs, who was the second team in the spring and is no longer on the team in the transfer portal. But this is kind of the first big offensive line injury. Came out with a knee brace on, and he was walking with a significant kind of limp, hitch, whatever you want to call it. And it's something I look at and be like, that doesn't seem like a guy who's going to be ready by the opener. So I think he's going to be out for a little bit. Not sure what it is. Again, just a big brace on the knee. So we'll have to see that moving forward. But not a great look for a team that's down on offensive linemen. Doesn't have a lot of depth.
Yeah. So they're going to, I think that's what Josh Hudson said too, earlier today. Some depth concerns there, but, you like your top 6-7 guys. And then from, after that, we'll have to wait and see. But Jason Rodriguez was coming in looking like he was filling that Max Gibbs spot since he's been gone. So hopefully he's back at some point. But
I did want to say in terms of like positive stuff, Michael Jackson and Solomon Tuliaupupu, they actually did the team warm-ups with the team. They weren't in uniform. I mean, they weren't in pads or anything, but they were doing it, which is usually a good sign. And it looks like Michael Jackson brought his cleats out for practice. So that also tells me, that he's doing running. I saw him on Saturday doing he's with the trainer while everyone else went inside. So it seems like he's getting really close to coming back, both of those guys. So doing the team warm-ups is a good sign.
Yeah, Kyle Ford caught a couple kicks or whatever, he had a jersey on but no pads or anything. Another guy you talked to who was injured a little bit earlier, Gary Bryant Jr. Anything interesting from number one wide receiver?
No, it just seems like very focused on, he said one of his big roles is sort of being accountable to everything they're asking of him, whether that's returning punts or playing outside, playing slot, playing out of the backfield, even if they're asking him to go down and make tackles on punts, whatever they're asking him to do, he just wants to have accountability for himself and doing to the fullest of his ability, whatever they want, whatever they ask of him. And that's kind of what I got from him. And I asked him about special teams. Obviously, he's a special teams guy, really good returner, one of the best in the Pac-12. So I just wanted to see how it's going just with, not having a special teams coordinator this season. There's no dedicated position coach for that. So it's more so done by a student assistant, a graduate assistant, one of those guys. But he said it's going well. And the big takeaway quote was they're bringing in guys, or they're finding guys on the team that actually want to do special teams. Because we talked about this on Instant, how you got to be a little bit crazy to play special teams when you got, 11 crazy guys running at you, 11 guys running down the field as fast as they can to hit somebody. So you need be a little bit crazy to do special teams. So they're kind of finding that right mix of guys who don't want to just go out there and kind of like, oh, let's get this over with. They're looking for guys who see this as an important facet of football. You know, it's the third unit of football, and while it's not it's a lot quicker than defense and offense.
Yeah.
In terms of how long they're out there, it's still important, and you can change games with a big return or a big block or things like that. So it's about finding the guys that want to go out there and make those plays, and what he said, fight out there on special teams. So that's kind of one of the big takeaways I had from talking to GB. I also joke with him because obviously Jordan Addison's pretty fast. Gary Bryant's pretty fast too. So I was just like, "Are you faster than Jordan?" And he was like, he laughed and he was like, "No, we got a race. We haven't raced yet." So I was like, I was surprised they haven't raced, but that'd be an interesting race for sure.
For sure, you'd want to see that. It's funny when people talk about Jordan Addison, you're just sort of like, "Oh yeah, that guy's a stud," and we just added him to the team. But he seemed to be fitting in with everybody. We'll have his video interview up. I don't know if you have it up already on our YouTube channel. Yeah.
You're watching this live, you can go watch it right now.
Yeah, you go check it out. But don't go away from us watching live.
You can do screen and screen, whatever, picture in picture. Come on.
It's hard to hear both. All right, we're going to take a quick break, and we'll come right back. And when we come back, we will talk about, we'll answer some of the questions you guys had. So back in a minute. All right, we're back here on the Peristyle Podcast, simulcast on our YouTube channel, youtube.com/InsideTroy. We had, let's see, one email question for you, Chris. This is LA Transplant in Diego. I think he means San Diego. He says, if the tight end group keeps getting thinner, thoughts on Kyle Ford filling in if he doesn't get any run at wide receiver?
Lincoln was actually asked about tight end depth, and he made it sound like he wasn't that concerned. But when you look at it, it is a little bit concerning because you need Josh Fowler to step up. And it's something he said, we need him to stay on the field because he has talent, but you need to stay on the field. Josh Fowler was back at practice today. He was fully suited up. And I know we've mentioned him multiple times on this show and on Instant about sometimes he's not out there, sometimes he's dressed out, sometimes he takes the pads off by the end of practice. So he just needs to stay consistently out there and healthy to be able to help, but they do need somebody to step up. It looks like Ethan Ray and Sean Mahoney are kind of being scout team guys right now.
Yeah.
So it looks like Josh Fowler's that third guy with Malcolm Epps and Lake McCree. But yeah, they're a couple injuries away from it looking a little grim. But with Kyle Ford, I do kind of like that because he is sort of a bigger wide receiver. He, I feel like he has the top half of like a tight end, but he's not obviously as tall. Like he's not as tall as those guys. I know he's listed at like 6'2", but he's more like 6'1"-ish. And those guys are more like, your tight ends, you want them like
6'5",
6'4", 6'3", you can get away with it too, but he's not that. But I do like the idea of him kind of playing that H-back spot because he is a physical blocker, and we know he's good at that, and that position needs to be able to block and catch out of the backfield. So I don't hate it, but he also needs to be healthy.
Yeah.
Because he hasn't practiced in a while. He's been injured. So once they get him back, I wouldn't be surprised if they need the tight end depth, they experiment with that because he is a bigger bodied receiver, but needs to be healthy. Can't make the club in the tub, as they like to say.
Can't make the club in the tub. Yeah, it's hard to replace an injured guy if you're injured too. So, but yeah, good one from there. Let's go to a YouTube question from Jason.
Sweet.
How's the DL looking, boys?
I think well, first of all, I would say the DL is looking pretty healthy-ish. They got some depth. One guy I did forget to mention, Earl Barquette, who's been working on the third team. He was out today. Not sure what that is about. But, Earl Barquette being the new one, and then Solomon Tuliaupupu are kind of the two really only injuries they really had on the D-line. Knock on wood. But I think they, obviously Thule is Thule. Dejon Benton has had a really good camp. Still working with that first team. Nick Figueroa is, consistent, dependable. Brandon Peely slimmed down a lot. Solomon Bird's kind of been flipping with those rush ends. DN can play DN. So I think they have some talent there, obviously, behind with Thule. They just need guys to step up and kind of help him out and make plays. And, he's going to get a lot of double teams, I imagine. So they need to be able to step up and get after it and make it worthwhile. You need Dejon Ben to get in the backfield when Thule's dealing with two guys on the other side. Or Stanley, strong as he is, he needs to be able to, get in that backfield and use that. Those guys need to use their quickness to their advantage against these Pac-12 linemen and kind of make plays in the backfield. So, it's not a star-studded group by any means outside of really Thule, but, they have some. You just want them to be scrappy. You want them to be quick. You want them to make plays. I think it's going to be a D-line by committee kind of deal with Thule kind of being the lead singer of that group. So that's kind of what my feel is. But
the band members are going to change out.
Yeah, they're gonna have different guys on the bass and the triangle. I don't know band, whatever. But the cowbell.
You need that.
Yeah. So I think that's kind of what it's gonna be. You got Thule, and then a couple guys can get sacks here and there, make plays here and there, and it's gonna be a committee kind of deal. But I think they have good potential. I just need to see it.
Speaking of one of those, Eric wants to know, haven't heard much about Tyrone Taleni. What are you guys seeing about this transfer?
Tyrone was kind of Tyron Taleni? I don't know. I'm getting loopy now. It's that nap's creeping in on me. But number 31, Taleni, he was working like Dejon Ben was kind of working, he would get not as consistent with the first team as Dejon has been in fall, but he would get some first team reps. And, he's a guy who's obviously a little bit more raw than a lot of guys on the team because he is a rugby player turned football that didn't start playing football until he moved here a few years ago. So a little more raw, but he seems to be consistently now on that second team unit. But kind of similar to Dejon. Dejon's, I think, is a little bit smaller, but uses that quickness, tenacity kind of deal, like a Rudy type. These guys are kind of undersized.
Yes.
But they're quick, and that's kind of what this defense calls for. It's like with Stanley Tauafu in the middle of that nose tackle. He is very undersized for a traditional nose tackle, but he's quick.
Yeah.
And he's small. He's a former linebacker, and he's strong. So that's kind of what this defense utilizes. So Taleni in that right fits it because he's smaller.
Yeah.
But right now he's been kind of being on the second team and kind of guy you forget about because he seemed to be emerging in spring, but now he's settled into that second team.
Yeah. We got another YouTube question from Nico.
All right.
Do you guys feel like the Collie is going to be visually packed for the first couple of games?
I do. I think I'm
going to have some stuff in the war room coming up on season ticket stuff, but it's, as you can guess, it's positive. I wasn't given any numbers on what expected attendance will be, but they've done well with season tickets. They've had those mini packages that we're including, like Notre Dame.
I think they're having like a flash sale.
And there's there's like a flash sale going on right now. But yeah, I think if you're talking about visually, like I'm guessing you're going to get in the high 60s for the Rice game, which maybe you have 10,000 open seats. I think visually it's going to look pretty good. I think you have a pretty full student section.
I think compared to last year, it's going to be look great.
Night and day.
I went with 70. You said high 60s.
70?
I went 70, so I'm just going to go with 70.
Yeah.
But yeah, I expect the student section to be popping.
Let's see. We had, we already did this one from Mr. Martin. And then.
Did you ever get back to what's his face, Sam?
Was it Phil?
Phil.
Here, let me put Phil's up right now. Sorry, I'm producing and hosting at the same time. Phil, who's your guys' favorite player to watch on offense and defense? Let's see. Well, like, are you projecting or like? I mean, because a lot of the guys we just haven't seen yet.
Yeah, can't watch it entirely.
I mean, I like watching Kalen Bullock on the defensive side.
Yeah, that's a good one. That's a good one.
I mean, at a safety spot, you can do a lot of things. You're making tackles in the run game. You're covering guys. You're you're just kind of, you got some space and you can do some things. So I like watching him.
I'm interpreting this as sort of like a practice question, but
Okay.
when he's, that's fine. But when he's healthy, Solo is fun to watch.
Yeah.
He's got such a violent first step, and it's really fun to watch because he's a linebacker, a former linebacker, so he's a lot quicker. His punch is a lot quicker, and so I like watching him in drills. Like, man, he just gets it up there so fast, and he gets after it. Guys talk about that all the time. His motor is just like unmatched. So
Speaking of that, Eddie says, if Solo gets healthy by Saturday, should Rice just forfeit?
yes, just send him out there. Even if he's not like cleared or whatever, just send him out to do the coin flip by himself. Just send him out by himself, padded up, war paint on or whatever.
I love it.
And yeah,
You could do that.
Yeah, you'll hear the ref go, "What's that?" You don't want to pick a okay. Rice is just forfeited. We can all go home.
And by the way, if you're putting up your questions, for some reason any emojis don't show up. So he had little like siren emojis around his question, but I'm sorry that didn't translate for our program for whatever reason. So we got another one. This is from Jimmy. Starting front seven or front six, should I say, since Grinch primarily uses 5 DBs.
Front 7.
Yeah, we know there's going to be a rotation in the front, right? So I mean,
Dejan, Stanley,
Thule,
Romello, Nickel, Max
Williams. But I'm guessing if he's not on the field, it might be the Eric Gentry. Maybe he's, if they got 3 linebackers in there, maybe it's him.
It would be Shane, Raylan,
and Gentry. Yeah, I think that makes the most sense. But that's that for that one, Jimmy. But kind
of like a 3-3-5.
Yeah, but we're going to see rotating guys, and I think the linebackers maybe they won't rotate, but it might depend on down and distance. If you're playing Stanford, you might see extra linebackers in there. I'm not too familiar with Rice yet. I got to dig in and see what's going on there. They have, I know there's someone familiar for Rice. It's one of the coaches or something. I'm blanking. I was like, oh, he's there at Rice. Why am I blanking on who it is? I don't know. We'll figure it. But we'll get into our previews and stuff next week. But I haven't really dug into, what's going on there. Keith has a question on the tailgate. Where exactly will you guys set up for the tailgate? So I'll put out information as we get it, but it's not going to be. I believe it's going to be over near the African American History or Heritage Museum.
This is where we did it last year.
So last year was on Christmas Tree Lane. The company we were working with, went
out of business.
No, they're still there. There's an interesting story with that too, but for a different company.
Tell me off air.
Different company, but no, Tailgate Concierge. It's run by USC family, USC grads, and they were on Christmas Tree Lane last year, but they're moved to one of the other museums there. So I will get you guys the information on that, but it should be fun. Trader Joe's is definitely in. Probably have the free massages that we had before, like when someone comes, you get like a 10-minute massage. And I'm working on my guy Dano to see if he's going to do the grill. So.
And a bake-off.
And we're going to have the bake-off
I need sweet toothers. I need people with sweet tooth.
That's
teeth
me.
Yeah. No, you can't do it.
Oh yeah.
To judge this.
Yeah, I'm not going to be a judge because I'm a participant, but I will enjoy eating your cupcakes for sure. So.
I'll enjoy eating your trash too. Your cupcakes too.
Jeez. Christian, how do you guys feel about being ranked number 14? Well, we're not ranked 14. We're ranked number 1 as far as podcasts go, USC podcasts. But I think that makes sense. USC being 14, I think, is right about the right spot. I
think I mentioned I thought it was a little bit high. I would have maybe like 16, 17, 15, 14. Well, 14's fine. I see it. I can see it easily. For that preseason rank, but I think it's a little bit high, but I think it's fine.
I think so. I'm predicting USC to go like 9-3. But if they went 11-1 or 10-2, like I wouldn't be shocked. I'd be like, yeah, that makes sense, But it's hard to go from 4-8 to something like that. So I feel like 9-3 is a really good improvement and be a good spot. At the end of the year, if you're 9-3, you're probably ranked in the teens like that. But if they end up 10-2, it's going to be a top 10 kind of team. So it's pretty cool. Thanks for the question, Quan. I hear Gentry's name. I'm sorry. I hear Gentry's getting all the first team reps. What's the thought about the kid? So we kind of talked about him already. I don't know about all the first team reps, but he's getting first team reps for sure. Any thoughts, Chris? Any other thoughts that we didn't really cover? We're kind of.
I said my Gentry spiel.
Yeah.
Just super talented, but obviously just has to get caught up with the scheme, and it sounds like he's pretty much there. So we don't know how much. I assume you're going off his mother's post on Twitter,
right.
He's getting all the first team reps. Well, is she watching practice? I don't know. So I don't. It's still, it seems like I don't even know what I'm saying right now, Ryan. How much longer are we doing this?
Okay, sorry. We're not much longer. We'll get through a couple more of these.
He's super talented. He's going to play. I wouldn't be surprised if he's starting by the end of the season.
Blackie Chan plays. When do you think we're going to see a depth chart? I don't think we will.
I think he does depth charts.
Does he?
Okay. I believe so. So next week would probably be your best bet.
Yeah, it's something like
that Thursday before.
Let me see. All right. Well, we can probably. Gary Lewis wanted the same thing. Like, did Lincoln Riley put up a two deep at Oklahoma?
I believe he did, because I've done searches about the depth chart. I was specifically looking up tight end and H-back stuff, and I believe there was two deeps released. So I have to go double check on that, but I'm pretty sure.
Joshua Shaw put up on the chat, Marcus Tuiasosopo is the offensive coordinator of Rice. So
is that
that's what I was talking about from before, yeah. So I was talking about that. So thank you for that, Joshua. I knew there was I read something about him, and I was like, wait, that's someone that was at USC is on the Rice staff, and it's Marcus Tuiasosopo. So let's do one last one, and we'll let Chris go get his nap, and we'll give it to Joshua because he did us help. He did us a solid by bringing up the Marcus Tuiasosopo. What do y'all think about Raleek Brown bringing number 5 out of retirement next year if he breaks out this year? I think it's cool. I think it's really cool. He's, like Chris pointed out, he's wearing 14, or maybe Shotgun pointed it out.
Shotgun pointed it out.
Is that 1 + 4? Is that 5?
I'm not good at math, but I think that's what it is. Obviously, I'm assuming if you're in this hypothetical you're asking us, Reggie's given the blessing or whatnot. But I don't know. I feel like there's still not a balance in the college football world until Reggie gets his Heisman back.
Yeah,
maybe that has to happen first before you can full circle give that 5 to someone.
I mean, you got Urban Meyer back on the Fox set for it's you got to give Reggie his Heisman back. Come on, this is.
I mean, I don't know if those two things equate, but sure.
Just,
doing a commercial to giving back one of the most iconic statue of all time due to some silly NCAA.
Commercial. He's back on their show.
Yeah, well,
it's not just a commercial. He
kicked the dude.
Okay. We want to see Reggie.
I just think they're two. I just think there's a better analogy there for the
I'm sure there
kicking.
is.
Maybe you'll get a nap. You'll come back. You'll get something good.
I'll give you a good food.
I'm getting loopy now, so let's.
One last one.
Okay.
Because Blackie Chan put this up 5 times.
Okay.
I'm sorry. So he did. I put up the wrong one up. He said over under Brendan Rice 500+ yards, 5 TDs. He also said the same thing about Kyle Ford.
I would take.
I would take Rice.
I would take the Rice on if you're comparing those two. Over under 500 yards. Is that all purpose?
I think just talking about receiving yards.
Receiving yards. I would go. No, I'll take the over.
So I'm assuming you have to hit over for both.
501 yards. You can do that.
No, and 5 TDs.
Yeah, I think 5 TDs is easy.
So I think I would go that with Brennan Rice. Kyle Ford's my guy, but the fact that he's not practicing right now is not lending. Like, I feel like he could have a good year, but the fact that he's not out there right now, I'm not going to say.
Club in the tub, Brian.
Yeah. All right. Well, we got to let Chris get some sleep. I'm going to go
to sleep right now on air.
Are you going to
just close it out? I'm just going to go sleep right now.
That is Chris Trevino right over there. I'm Ryan Abraham. Thank you so much for listening to the Peristyle Podcast. Yes, we were up early for practice. We've been working the whole day. No sob stories. I know. It's just, Chris is a little tired, which is fine. But hope you guys enjoyed the show, and we will talk to you next time.